Hey everybody, Erin here. I love to work with plants as medicine and help other people find their balance, their wellness using medicine, herbs, and really connecting with the earth. You know, no matter where our people, our ancestors come from, if you go back far enough, you'll find ancestors who knew how to live in harmony with the earth, who knew how to work with plants as medicine, and who knew how to live seasonally. And so I love reconnecting with those plants and that knowing and piecing that together to increase my own health, but really as a signpost to find our way back to spirit and recapture what we lost from our ancestors in those ancient ways of knowing. In those ancient ways of taking care of oneself and one's family and one's community. So today I am reveling in some of my winter medicine, and I thought I would share it with you. I recently went to a farmer's market, and I was in Texas, and I saw these small little bottles of fire cider. You may be familiar with fire cider. It is a spicy and tangy kind of vinegar and honey based infusion of a lot of really powerful plants that help you when you're starting to feel ill. And I saw that they were selling fire cider for $18 for a small bottle. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And that seller at the market was doing particularly well, and people were coming up and having the little shots of fire cider and saying, oh, I need this in my life. And I knew that back home, I had a huge thing of fire cider. This is my fire cider that I made earlier this season. This is the jar I keep it in to have about a tablespoon a day. And you can see I'm already getting pretty far down. And this is just in the last couple of months of drinking it. So I'm gonna decant some more today. I've got my handy funnel here and my ladle that doesn't fit. That didn't work. Let's see if we can spoon it. That didn't work either, did it? I know, just the ladle. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my fire cider. I can already smell some of the herbs that I used. I made this with apple cider vinegar, onion and garlic. I made this with ginger and burdock root, with turmeric root, dandelion greens, so many immune boosting, vitamin and mineral rich plants were sitting, waiting in apple cider vinegar for 6 weeks. They were macerating and giving their medicine into the liquid. And then at the end of 6 weeks, I was able to strain out the herbs and measure how much I had left. It was about 4 cups. And I used 2 cups. I mixed 2 cups of honey with that 4 cups of the liquid. And what it yielded is this really delicious elixir. And this recipe came from my teacher, Salima Harleston Lust, who teaches herbal medicine for the soul. Highly recommended course to learn more about plant medicine. So I used Salima's recipe here, but there are tons and tons and tons of recipes. You know, the origin of fire cider is unknown. It probably came from indigenous peoples in America, African Americans in America, and it was popularized by the herbalist Rosemary Gladstar in recent years. And so it's really taken off and gained a lot of popularity recently, but it's always been the people's medicine. And so what I do with this fire cider is I'll just put a little bit in some water, and sometimes I'll add some of my elderberry tincture, or now I'm doing a hawthorn and mullein, just wonderful, along with my holy basil or tulsi tincture. But today I'll just drink it straight and tell you what I think. I can taste the garlic, but it's not powerful like garlic. I can taste the oranges that I put in there, the fresh citrus, lemon. I can taste the rosemary from the garden. And I can taste the horseradish. Now, I kind of had some trouble finding horseradish when I went to make this recipe. I went to the usual suspects, the local stores, and they kind of scratched their heads and said, "Oh, that's seasonal. We don't have it yet. Come back around Thanksgiving time." Well, I knew that my best approach to having winter medicine was to make it before I needed it. So I knew that fire cider needed to sit for 6 weeks. And so I was like, it'll be fall by that time. I might have a cold and need it by that time. So I went online and I bought, I think, a pound of horseradish, and it came in a root the size of my fist. So horseradish is a root. And what I learned in researching it is that it is so old that we can't really trace its origin. It's been planted and people have worked with it for so many years that it just, is older than old. And it grows everywhere. And it's cold hardy. And so I thought, well, I can buy it online. And it came to me. It was like just, not like a turnip, like big. And it was wrapped in wet paper towels and in a plastic bag. And I opened it up and I was like, wow. And I put my nose to it. It didn't really smell like much, because if you've ever smelled horseradish, there's no mistaking it. It's powerful. It's like a punch in the face. And what I learned is that happens when you break the cell walls, when you cut it, when you shred it, which is how I used it for this fire cider. I shredded it in the food processor. So I knew I only needed a certain amount. And so I decided, well, I had such a hard time finding it this time. Let me plant it and see if it even grows. And I noticed that there were a couple little green nubs on the root itself when it arrived. And I was like, okay, I'm going to cut not that part and plant that part. And I looked it up and learned a little bit more about it. And they said, don't put it in the ground because it's invasive. It'll take over everything. So I put it in a pot. Let me show you. That's Rufus. I'll step over Rufus to get outside. Stay. You guys, this is my horseradish. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? I planted one, root about this big, and all these gorgeous leaves are coming up. And the cool thing about it is when I rub one of these leaves, you can see it smells like horseradish. So I have a very early memory that is how I learned about horseradish. And my household wasn't necessarily, it didn't have an apothecary full of plant medicine, but my parents had tea for dinner every night, and those teas would be, a lot of sassafras, a lot of chamomile, a lot of mint. And I remember one time sitting at the dinner table, and my dad had a cold, and he had kind of this like really congested nose thing happening. And he got up and he went to the refrigerator and he took out a jar of horseradish and he sniffed it. And he just went, he went, whoa! Because the thing about horseradish is, some plant medicine, when you take it, you need it to be taking it for a couple of weeks before you notice any difference. And horseradish is not like that. Horseradish is immediate. It will immediately tell you that it's here and what it's doing. And so it has an affinity for those really thick, mucousy, stuck situations, when you just can't clear the mucus. And the energetics of the plant are such that they really power through. It brings so much heat that it clears that congestion. So I haven't tried this before, but I'm going to take a tiny little bit of the leaf and see. Oh yeah, it's spicy, but it's only spicy like arugula. I would not pull out the root and bite into that. I have a lot more of a warm constitution, and so people who have heat conditions, stuff on skin, like I've been managing psoriasis, that kind of stuff, this ain't your guy. But properly prepared, taking for example, fire cider, a tablespoon a day, I'm fine with that. The honey that it's in is cooling it down, and it's mellowed over time with the other herbs. But horseradish is has been used medicinally for many, many years to help people who have that feeling of sluggishness in their digestion when it just won't clear, and it's just like stuck mucus. We've all been there, we know. But a tremendous ally, and what I haven't seen before is the use of the greens. And I'm thinking about, chopping some of these up really finely, maybe like a julienne, and putting in a salad. I think that could be helpful to digestion and not too heating. So that's one of the ways that I'm looking forward to working with horseradish. And who knows, maybe by next late summer, early fall, there'll be some root for me to work with in my next fire cider. So thanks for learning more about horseradish, joining me here. If you want more content like this, please like and subscribe and share this channel. And let me know if you like horseradish, if you have worked with it before, and share your thoughts on horseradish with me, especially if you've worked with the greens. Thanks, everybody.